Hello, I'm Armando. I'm your friendly neighborhood Toastmaster, Dungeon Master, Gentleman Gamer, Kung Fu martial artist, and an enthusiast of wrestling, anime, Asian dramas, and other geeky stuff. And I welcome you to Gentlemen of Action. This is week number 2, yes, video number 2 of the Gentlemen of Business series where I cover the building of my brand, Gentlemen of Action. In these videos, we cover current projects that I'm working on, as well as current events and other business topics, and just for fun, some fun stuff that I might be doing throughout the month. So, let's get to it. This week on Weekly Updates, I'm currently working on the outline of course number 6 of my public speaking project, where I talk about body language. Now, I typically load these courses primarily on the platform of Skillshare.com, but we'll look to make it into a complete lesson via other platforms as well. As a responsible content creator, I do need to diversify and make sure that my courses and streams of income are never in a single basket, unless that basket is very stable and, of course, freaking awesome. But in all seriousness, I do need to eventually update all my courses to make them easily transferable on multiple platforms. But unfortunately, that is another major project that I need to do. And as a one-man show, it is kind of tough, but I need to eventually get it done. So more on that at a later date. This week on Comment Section Dissection, my fellow gentleman Jerry commented, Armando, what are your thoughts on the future of brick and mortar businesses opening/operating? Well, this is May 2020, and COVID-19 is a pandemic that has caused us to temporarily shut down since March. Now, COVID has made us rethink a lot about how we interact with each other. And though I feel that these restrictions were potentially necessary at the very beginning, these are just temporary restrictions. Now, I believe that brick and mortar businesses, assuming that they survived being shut down for so long, will be back at capacity of 75 to 100% by approximately mid-August 2020. At least that's what I feel like it's going to be here in the state of Florida, or hopefully earlier. Now, the reason for my prediction is because federal unemployment benefits should end by July 31st, 2020, which is right before the August timeframe that I mentioned. Now, the key word is that it should be ending by July 31st. It may be extended. And to put it simply, normal state-based unemployment benefits were never meant to replace one's income. Now, in the state of Florida alone, and it's because this is the state I live in, so this is the example I'm going to use. Unemployment benefits, I believe, are $275 a week. Add $600 to that, and you start making more than the Florida average for restaurant staff members, which that's one of the industries that was most heavily impacted. Now, the hourly average for restaurant staff members is $10.14 an hour. This is per Indeed.com. Now, with unemployment, you're basically making well over $21 an hour just in the state of Florida. We're not even talking about the other states, where some of them were making more than $1,000 in some cases. Now, with this data, this leads me to conclude the same exact thoughts that both Business Insider and Forbes are both claiming, which is you may be making more not working than you are working. Now, what I'm trying to say with all these facts and figures is that it will no longer be the case that some will make the same, if not more, by not working by about mid-August, which means that John Q. Public, who is receiving any type of aid, will now start looking for a job and needing for items, or rather businesses, to open back up and the economy to be normal. Now, this is not at all a criticism of those who receive any type of unemployment benefits, those who were impacted by this crisis, or those who receive any type of aid. Truth be told, many of you have no job to go back to after this is all done. And I will consider you a lot more intelligent that if you were actually given the choice to either stay home or go to work, and were told that, hey, you might make exactly the same, or potentially more, or even if you made 10% less, 20% less, which goes down as far down as 30% less than what you are making. Would say you're making 70% of your salary to stay home. I would think, once again, you're much more intelligent for doing that. Because why risk your life to go and make 20, 30% more? That just seems kind of silly. And now when you're told that, hey, you're going to make more, I think you're the smartest people on earth. So once again, let's get back to the question. What's the incentive to work when it's the case that you might make the same or more? The answer is none, until about mid-August, when your incentive will change. What is happening now? Well, just so you know, COVID-19 is still a thing, but fortunately, it's less of a thing. As of the filming of this video, the state of Florida has reopened with some minor restrictions in all counties except for one, which is Miami-Dade County. For reference, I currently live in Broward County, which borders Miami-Dade. It takes me about 20 to 30 minutes to get into Miami-Dade County. And Broward is rescheduled, or rather is going to reopen on May 18th. I'm filming this video on May 17th, which is literally one day before. Now, per my local news websites, reopening entails the following, which are elective surgeries can now recommence at hospitals. Restaurants and retail outlets are allowed to accommodate up to 50% capacity, which 1 week ago, it was only 25% capacity, so we're getting ever so closer to normal. Barbershops, hair salons, and nail places and salons are allowed to open Monday across the state, except for Miami-Dade and Broward, which I cannot get a manicure to save the life of me, or for the life of me, or it's just not going to happen. But, I mean, that's okay. I'll just deal with it. I mean, I can always just cut my nails at home, I guess. But on a serious note, gyms will open in all counties except for Broward and Miami-Dade, which means I cannot go to my Kung Fu school where I live. It's kind of a shame. But I can go to the Kung Fu school location right next to my job. Well, not really. It's like 10 minutes away. But at least I now have options, when before I didn't have options. And if I want to get my fitness on, I can just go to the local gym right next to my job. So I have a lot of options. And we're so much closer to normal than we used to be. Anyway, on to some fun stuff. And this week we're going to be talking about video games, because I recently started Final Fantasy VII the Remake. And no question, it's probably one of the greatest games I played in a very long time. And I do not care if there's any imperfections, because the sheer nostalgia factor is definitely the main factor to why I'm enjoying myself so much. Now, the game is still a solid 8 or 9 out of 10 as far as games go. But for those who are players of the original, it's a perfect 10 out of 10. And I love how they expanded the previous characters of Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge, as well as added new characters, which I'm not going to spoil for you today. Now, I'm still playing it, mind you, and I'm eventually going to give you my final thoughts when I finish it, whenever that happens, because I'm averaging about maybe 2 or 3 hours of video games every 3 weeks, so maybe an hour a week. So I'm not really doing so well on that. But still, it's an amazing game that you should consider. In addition to that, I also want to talk to you about Yakuza Kiwami 2, which I'm currently playing that. It's the second installment in the long-running Yakuza series that stars the protagonist of Kazuma Kiryu. Now, the game is a role-playing game by Sega, and it's an open-world thriller, murder mystery, and comedy all wrapped up in one with a bunch of fun side quests. Now, seriously, this game is amazing. And when you pick it up, you're going to realize there's a lot of game to have, because there's a total of 7 games that make up the main story of Yakuza. So basically, this is a good way to distract yourself because of recent current events. I would imagine that you just want something to do in order to occupy your time. But remember, when everything is done and you have to go back into normal life, make sure to always game responsibly. But when you're gaming responsibly, try Final Fantasy VII the Remake and the Yakuza series. And this week on Manly Recommendations, I want you to start learning about the basics of money and gain some basic financial education. Now, admittedly so, I have not read as many books as I should have, and this has definitely been to my detriment. Fortunately, I do have a few recommendations that do cover the sides about how money works, as well as give you the basics in financial education in the form of some channels that I personally follow. So for recommendations as far as books, I do recommend getting Rich Dad, Poor Dad and The Richest Man in Babylon by Robert Kiyosaki and Robert Clayson, respectively. As far as other channels that you can follow, I recommend checking out The Minority Mindset with Jaspreet Singh, which is an established YouTube channel. I've been following him for well over a year now. And also Nick Scuderi's Real Life Money. He also calls himself Real Life Money. His name is Nick. I personally met Nick at StyleCon, which is now called Menfluential, which was a influencers conference that I went to in Georgia approximately 3 years ago. And he left a really good impression on me. And after that, I decided to follow his channel, and I've been a subscriber for, well, those 3 years. He's a really good guy, has a lot of great information, and I recommend that you give him a subscribe and like. And as for apps, I use both WeBull, which is kind of a sponsor, and Stash, which is not quite a sponsor yet, but we're working on it. So the idea or the purpose of all this is learning how money works will ensure that you will make money work for you, as opposed to you always working for money. Now, do not get me wrong. All those gurus out there that talk about passive income and how they make money while sleeping, all at some point had to work for their money too. And we are all working for our money at this time. But it's a smart idea to try to get out of primarily active income, meaning money that you're actively working for, and transition over to more passive incomes, meaning money that you make without having to do direct inputs. It's just, for the long term, a much better strategy for gaining wealth. Speaking of money and wealth, time for some shameless marketing. If you wish to try investing in the stock market but not lose your shirt, or any article of clothing for that matter, and fees, I would like to recommend you to my affiliate, WeBull. Now, WeBull is the stock trading app that I personally use in order to participate in the stock market. Now, if you use my affiliate link below, you and I can both get a couple of free stocks by registering and making your first deposit of at least $100. Now, in the old days, which was honestly not that long ago because I'm a millennial and I don't consider myself all that old, investing in the stock market was out of reach because a trade transaction would cost me at minimum $14. Not to mention that starting an account would require a minimum of $2,500. So I rarely did anything back then as far as the stock market was concerned. Now with WeBull, you can start with as little as $100 and every trade is zero commission, which is amazing. Now I do gotta let you know that with any type of investment, there is a level of risk and you're never guaranteed to make money. You might even lose money along the way. But I do wish you a lot of luck anytime you do any type of investing or speculating. So please, if you wish to support my channel as well as participate in the stock market, please use my affiliate link below to start your account at WeBull today. And that is the Gentleman of Business wrap up for this week. I hope to see you every week or every other week, depending on if the government decides to shut me down or if work piles up on me. If there's a business or improvement topic that you would like to be mentioned or discussed, please feel free to leave it in the comments below. Also, if you like what I do around here or wish to support me, please give me a like, a subscribe, and check out the description to see more on how you can support me and what I do. And I hope to see you in the next video.